We aim to make documentary and narrative features that are around the topic of human resilience.
Okay.
And we want to put content out there that on both sides of the camera is what we want to see and what we feel like is missing.
I mean, we're always trying to find something new, you know, in every single project that we do, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're both gearheads.
Yeah.
I mean, we switch brands of cameras, like we alternate. Whatever the latest thing is, we try that out on most productions.
Welcome to Cinema 5D on the Go. Moving conversations about moving images with filmmakers and industry leaders. Brought to you by Tilta, Blackmagic Design, Manfrotto, and Olympus OMD in association with Sony. This is your host, Nino Leitner.
Welcome to this episode of Cinema 5D on the Go from Las Vegas again, this time at night. And this time we're fully staffed Cinema 5D car, kind of. So everybody in this car, you know, is a shooter, but also writes and works for Cinema 5D on the side, kind of.
Yeah.
So this is Ehlers Sheldon and her beautiful husband.
So pretty.
Yeah, we're also married. Yeah.
Graham. And behind me, Fabian, who's always here.
Hello.
Hey,
who's
Fabian.
the good soul of Cinema 5D and does everything that nobody else wants to do.
Yay.
In this
indeed.
case, the audio in here. So, yeah, guys, we're here to talk about you guys, actually. You both are based in LA.
Yep.
What are your, I mean, you guys have worked on so many different things. We've talked about it before, but you've done a lot of stuff that a lot of people aspire to do, right? So you've shot feature films. You're doing a lot of music videos and stuff that is kind of, not necessarily, the stuff that earns you the most money. So
That's true. Yeah.
what is your approach to filmmaking, and how are you deciding, what gigs to do and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, it's really nice that we get to work together a lot. I think that's kind of rare, because I think we bring sort of different skill sets to the table, maybe that you don't get to see all the time in couples. I mean, I do a lot of the producing. Rin shoots as well, but I'll shoot often in sort of the DP role. And then Rin, you're great with Steadicam stuff and gimbals, and I think you have a gift with lighting too. So you get to direct a lot too. So I mean, like most people, we wear a lot of hats.
Are you always working together, or are there a lot of projects where you don't work together on the same thing?
Yeah, so we get to work together a lot. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of couples can say that they get to work together all the time, and that, even that it works really, Working with your significant other is hard, wouldn't you say, hun?
I don't know. I like it.
I like it too.
I mean, I think it was really hard in the beginning, but
How long have you been together?
10 years.
Yeah, married for 3, almost 4 now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we have skill sets that sort of complement each other. I hate editing. Rin is fantastic at editing. She has that like intangible thing that, it's more than just hotkeys at some point. It's sort of an understanding of pacing and storytelling through editors like Premiere, and she's a fantastic writer. I am an okay writer. She's a great director. I shoot, so we complement each other very well. I think it would be a little harder if we're like, we both want to direct everything, maybe we butt heads more, but
We puzzle piece together pretty well. Heyo.
yeah, and when we spend so much time together that we have this like second language, we sometimes just look at each other and sort of know.
Shorthand.
Yeah, shorthand. We know what a shot maybe should be.
What is it like to actually, have your business in LA, the city of film? Do you feel like, you're part of that? How does Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, like the indie movie scene and also the studio movie scene, how does that influence your everyday jobs? I mean, are you working on a lot of big shows because of that, or is it more like like being the indie filmmaker next to all that massive industry? Or are you part of it? How would you see that?
Yeah. I mean, LA is where all these productions happen, right? So when you're commuting to whatever shoot that you might be working on at the time, you will pass productions on the road with big HMIs on the street, often with. So it's kind of inspiring in that sense that everyone around you is, almost everyone, it seems like everyone is somehow affiliated with the film industry.
Yeah.
You walk into most coffee shops and people are talking about whatever project it is that they're working on. I mean, when you're in LA, you overhear things like, Red Epic versus Amira versus more often than not. And I'm a member of the Producers Guild, so I go to a lot of screenings on studio lots, a lot of sort of premiere events and then things like that. So I get to walk on studio lots, but I don't get to work in these buildings as much as I'd like to, being sort of an indie filmmaker.
So there's a lot of you have to be part of the union and stuff like that, right? In order to be able to work on these sets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Local 600 is a big proponent of safety, for one, but also by that same token, there are some shows that I couldn't do if I was a member of the union. So I'm a non-union camera operator and a union, such as it is, member of the Producers Guild, which isn't really a union. I think it's more of a guild organization.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Local 600 watches out for you, keeps you safe. But I couldn't do shows like The Island if I was union.
So talking about The Island, you guys have dabbled in a lot of different things. So you've actually been on a show as a camera operator on camera.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so they wouldn't tell me what this show was for like a month and a half. They just said, this wonderful lady named Angie reached out to me, shout out to her, and said, hey, would you like to do the show? We can't tell you anything about it. It's kind of a survival show.
But she asked you as an operator, right?
Yeah.
So not like as an actor.
Right. She said the core concept of the show is that people go and try to survive on the show, and then you'll be filming it, but you'll also be on camera. And it took me a long time to sort of wrap my head around that. But really, like, the first few moments of the show are myself and this guy named Rick. We swim to shore and we pick up our cameras off the beach and kind of turn the camera to one another, like, hey, I'm Graham, hi, I'm Rick. And you see us holding the camera, which I think is kind of an amazing, is kind of a fun concept. But yeah, it's called The Island with Bear Grylls, sort of survival aficionado bear. And yeah, it's 14 men try to survive over a month on a remote island.
How real is that? I mean, do they leave you there to starve, or?
Yeah.
Really?
He came back so thin. Was it 35 pounds you lost?
I went from 190 to 155 in 4 weeks.
It was,
wow,
it was
that's pounds.
really heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, like most people, I thought, oh, well, it's going to be like Survivor. We get rice and beans and water and all these things. And I mean, even the executive producer had worked on Survivor, so I thought, okay, this isn't, I thought it was going to be, some elements were going to be faked, right? And I get there, and they're like, nope, you're on your own, good luck. This type of, this bush, if you eat it, it'll kill you. If you make a fire under this tree, you'll go blind. I mean, literally, there's something called a death apple in Panama, so watch out for that. Looks like a great apple. You're like, I should eat this. Yeah, don't eat it. Or
How did you feel that?
die.
I mean, were you like, okay, that's not for me, bye, or?
Well, by that point, I'd been through so many different layers. I went through like a 4-hour psych profile. I did all these things, and I like wanted it.
You were already so invested in the whole thing.
Yeah, I'd been through so many different applications. I wanted to do it because I was competitive or something.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, so The Island was certainly not an everyday gig, but how do you choose normal gigs? I mean, we actually talked about that on another show with Vincent Laforet about how you have to, at some point, really focus what you're doing, right? So you can take everything, but you're only gonna get better at something if you really focus on and choose the things that you like to do? How do you guys select your project?
Well, we used to have to do a lot of gigs that we didn't love as much, just like anybody. So, I mean, there has to be, in the beginning you have to sort of build up a reserve so that you can do the passion projects that build up your reel so that you can get where you want to go. If your sights are set on like narrative and more creative endeavors rather than like commercial, then that's not to say that commercial endeavors can't be creative endeavors. And so that people know that you know what you're doing and that they can trust you with bigger and bigger budgets. But everybody has to eat, so I mean that's one way we decide. But thankfully we're in a place now where we've been able to turn down stuff.
Yeah.
And eat.
Yeah, and absolutely, and eat. And I mean it.
Yeah, I mean we are our company is we aim to make documentary and narrative features that are around the topic of human resilience.
Okay.
And we want to put content out there that on both sides of the camera is what we want to see and what we feel like is missing. So on the crew side, that means diversifying the crew, and in front of the camera, that means representing stories we think aren't being represented. So that's how we decide what we want to make ourselves.
Cool.
What we want to be the genesis of or whatever.
Well, and I think we're always trying to find something new, in every single project that we do, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're both gearheads.
Yeah.
I mean, we switch brands of cameras, we alternate. Whatever the latest thing is, we try that out on most productions in the field, versus sort of a studio environment. So sometimes whatever's new for us might be a piece of equipment, shooting with a different type of Alexa or whatever. And then sometimes it could be a new thing, like different part of the world that we haven't experienced. Yeah, a group that maybe a story hasn't been told about that we'd love to tell.
Graham is really good at selling a client on a new piece of gear, justifying it for the project if he wants to try it out. And
me too. I love that.
Yeah, but
It's a good skill to have.
Yeah. But I mean, we're genuinely excited about it too. But Nino, to your question of specializing, right? The fact that I'm not that specialized, I think makes me a much better producer.
Okay.
Because when you try to tell me that a techno crane is $8,000 a day to rent in Los Angeles, I know immediately that I can get it for $4,000. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know that the cable, the 4-pin Limo to PTAP is $150 from Bartek Engineering. And if you try to sell it to me for $225, I know that you're ripping me off. So, and that's how we can keep our budgets pretty low, because I mean, maybe rental houses don't like that, but we chip into their margins because we know how much stuff costs. Yeah. So we can put as much money on the screen as possible.
So how often do you wear your producer hat versus your shooter hat? Do you generally produce the things you shoot?
It really depends. It's really different.
It does
from
depend.
Project to project.
Yeah.
Well, for the Good Catholic, which is our last most recent feature, which is coming out in fall of this year of 2017. I am a producer on the project, but also I shoot all of the second unit photography. So all the exteriors in the movie I shot, and the reason for that is we did not have the money. We couldn't get a second camera, whatever it is. And if
there's an excuse for you to shoot something, you're gonna do it because it's always gonna be both of our first loves.
Yeah, I'll always be the first one to volunteer for that stuff. So, and I've done so much sort of documentary reality stuff, and you have too, and we have together, that sometimes it's hard to convince people that I am or we are capable of doing narrative. So it's easier when you produce something and then you can just hire yourself to shoot it.